Okay, so I'm going to make a tutorial on how to do this because I'll be able to simplify the process. You are able to watch the 3-part tutorial that I showed you about on Friday. I'll have the websites for that written on the board, or the title that you can Google in YouTube written on the board. But if you want to watch this one, it might be a little bit more simple. So what you want to do is you want to open up Photoshop, and then you want to, I'm just going to start from the beginning. Some of you guys might already have these first few steps. But what you want to do is you want to open your photo in Photoshop a specific way. Do not drag and drop it in Photoshop. Right click on the image that you want to put in Photoshop, and by right clicking on a Mac, right click is control click. And then you'll have this box pop up. You want to go up to open with and open with Photoshop. So now that my photo is in Photoshop, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it, and I'm going to save it as a Photoshop document. If I do not save it as a Photoshop document, I will not be able to edit it later. So if you save it as a JPEG, you will not be able to edit it tomorrow, and you'll have to start all over. Do not save it as a JPEG. Save it as a Photoshop document. I'm going to save this as VPA Lichtenstein. You can save it as VPA and then your name, and I'm just going to save it right on the desktop. That's fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my layers toolbox. So right here is my layers toolbox. It has channels and it has layers. I'm not going to deal with the channels at all. I'm just going to deal with the layers. If you do not have this, you can go up to Window, and where it says layers. If layers is already checked off, you do have the box open somewhere on your screen and you just can't see it. If the box is not checked off, you don't have it open, and you can click it to open it. If I click it, it's going to close it. The other helpful tool or window to have open is history. I already have my history open, but if you don't have it open, you can open it, and I'll show you what it does in a little bit. I have to do a couple of things before my history will be relevant to use. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer on top of my background layer. My background layer is locked. That's good, because I don't want to draw on my background layer. I want to draw on a transparency on top of my background layer. So I'm going to create a new layer by clicking this little square with the folded up corner. If I hover over it, you can see that it says create new layer. So I already clicked that. I'm going to call this layer outline. Mostly everything I'm going to do is going to be in this outline layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to find my brush tool. The brush tool is over here. If it shows up as a pencil tool, the brush tool and the pencil tool, the color replacement tool, the mixer brush tool, they're all in the same bar. So if you see a pencil tool, just click on it and hold, and you'll be able to click the brush tool. You want your brush tool to be about the size of 3. Any bigger, your outlines will be ridiculously big. Any smaller, they might be too small. So to outline my picture, oops, I hit print, cancel. To outline my picture, if I want to make my picture bigger so it's easier for me to outline, I can hit Command plus. And if it's too big, I can hit Command minus. So those are a couple of toggles that are nice and quick and easy. I want my outline color to be black. If you want your outline color to be a different color, that's fine. Let's say you wanted your outline color for your skin to be close to your skin color. If you want to change your outline color, you can do one of two things. You can double click on the top box and find your color, or you can go over here to the swatches and just choose what color. I'm going to just use black. I'm using a Wacom tablet, so my lines are a lot easier to draw. It's hard to get used to at first, but in the long run it makes cleaner lines than your mouse, especially when you're trying to trace something. If you don't like the line, like I do not like that outline, I'm just going to hit Command Z, and that's going to undo my last step. So I'll try again. Sometimes if you go too slow, your outline is a little bit wonky. But if you go too fast, obviously you're not going to get a good outline either. So now that I have my face outlined, I'm going to outline my hair. I want to outline my ears and my earrings. I really want to make sure that every outline is a closed shape. So if I close the eye over here, I can either show my layers or hide my layers. If I want to hide my background layer, I can click on the eyeball to the left of my background layer, and I can see if my shapes are closed. My line is really thin, so it's a little hard to tell, but if I look really closely, I can see if there's any holes between my ear shape that I've drawn and my face shape. And when that's going to become a problem is when I'm starting to fill color. So to test it right now, I'm going to hit the paint bucket tool. If you cannot find the paint bucket tool, it might be hiding under the gradient tool. The gradient tool is a square that goes from dark to light. And if you just hold on the gradient tool, it will show you the paint bucket tool. So if you click the paint bucket tool, not the 3D material drop tool, but the paint bucket tool, find a good skin color. So I filled that shape with the skin color that I wanted. If that shape was not closed, it would have filled the whole picture with that color. So I know that my shape is closed. So I can do one of two things. I can hit Command Z to undo that color fill. One of three things actually. I can hit Command Z to undo the fill. I can go up to my history tool and just click back one step. So see, it says paint bucket tool. I just used the paint bucket tool. If I go back one step, it'll undo that. This is where the history tool is good, because Command Z will go back one step. But if you need to go back 3 steps, you can go to your history window and just click back 3 steps. And then if you clicked back too many steps, you can just click forward a step. So that tool is really helpful. Or I can just leave it because it doesn't matter, because I'm going to do that eventually anyways. Okay, so I want to re-show my background layer because I'm not done tracing yet. So I'm just going to click the eyeball, and I want to make sure I'm still clicked on my outline layer. If you're clicked on your background layer, let's see, where's my brush tool? If you're clicked on your background layer and you try to draw on your background layer, you're not going to be able to flood fill it in later. The old Photoshops wouldn't even let you draw on the background layer if it was locked, but this one will. However, if you are drawing all these outlines on the background layer right now, you're not going to be able to flood fill them. So make sure you're on your outline layer. So I'm going to click back on my outline layer. I'm going to go back to my black color, and I'm going to continue outlining all of the pieces. Outline my jacket, my neck, every little thing. I don't need to outline the background because I'm going to put a thought bubble in that later. But I am going to outline every other thing. So my mouth, my teeth. I might want to zoom in for my teeth. And when I start outlining the inside of my face, this is where I might want to start outlining it with colors that are close to what I'm outlining. So when I'm outlining my lips, I might want to outline them with pink, because it might look weird to have it outlined with black. So that is your artistic choice. That's you're the artist, you get to choose that. I'm going to probably outline my eyes with a dark brown because the black outline looks a little bit ridiculous with the eyes. So although I do want to outline my pupils with black because pupils are always black. I want to outline my eyelashes. My eyelashes will just be lines. They won't really be shapes that I'll fill in later. That's okay. They're just lines. But you do want to have your eyelashes as a detail in this. Also your eyebrows. Your eyebrows, it's up to you if you want them to be shapes or lines. I'll just do mine as shapes, but they look kind of cool as lines too. Depends how realistic you want this. Also, you want to outline the lines in your face because that's going to show your facial expression. So I'm going to outline the lines in my face a dark tan, which will show up on my skin color that I'll choose because I'll choose a lighter color for my skin color. So today, I'm obviously not here. Tomorrow I will not be here, but you don't have class tomorrow anyways. And Wednesday I will be here. So what you should really shoot for today is to have your outlines all done at the least. If your outlines aren't all done, I don't know what you were doing today. 50 minutes and no outlines is not a good situation. So you should strive to have your outlines all done, and you should have most stuff filled in with color. The background, don't worry about, we'll deal with that later. So if you noticed, I just chose white, and I'm going to outline my teeth with white. And then I can choose a dark red and outline my tongue with a darker red. I'm not sure if I'm done outlining everything. I'm sure I've forgotten a lot of stuff. So let's just hide the background layer and see what I've got. It looks like I forgot eyelashes on one side. And if I hit Command minus, I can zoom in, and I forgot one side of my body. I also want to put my earrings in. So I'll re-show my layer and keep doing that. The more details you have, the more realistic this is going to look, the better your grade's going to be, because the more you're applying, the more knowledge of the art program, Photoshop, you're applying, and the more you're trying to show your Roy Lichtenstein-esque message. If you don't have any laugh lines, any facial expressions, any eyelashes, that is not going to meet the expectations for when you're getting your grade. So I have to zoom out so I can see everything here. Okay, what else didn't I outline? My earrings, zoom in, Command plus. Great. So I'm going to call it good on outlining stuff. I'm not sure if I'm done outlining stuff or not yet, but I think I'm pretty close. I can always go back in and add objects, but for now I'm going to call it good. So I'm going to hide my background layer, zoom out, and now I need my paint bucket tool. So I'll go over and I'll choose paint bucket tool. If you're computer savvy and you want to learn these toggles, great, I'm going to tell you them. But if you don't want to learn them, just ignore what I'm saying. If you scroll over the paint bucket tool, you'll notice that it says paint bucket tool, and then in parentheses it says G. If you scroll over the brush tool, you'll notice that it says brush tool, and in parentheses it says B. The toggle for the paint bucket tool is G, and the toggle for the brush tool is B. So if you get really quick with Photoshop, the best thing to do is learn these toggles, because instead of going over to select the brush tool, you can just hit B. Instead of going over to select the paint bucket tool, you can just hit G on your keyboard and it'll automatically select it for you. Now, one more tool is the eyedropper tool, which is the toggle I. So I just hit I and it selected the eyedropper tool. If you don't want to do that, if you go over here, you select the tool that looks like an eyedropper. Hopefully it's not hiding under anything, because mostly in the eyedropper tool drop down, the only useful thing is the eyedropper tool. What I'm going to use for the eyedropper tool for is to remember what color this was. I don't remember where on this palette that I got this skin color. So if I want to get that skin color again, I click the eyedropper tool and select it, and then it'll just put that color in my box down here. And then I can hit G, or I can get the paint bucket tool, and I can start flood filling with that skin color. Get my neck. I might have to zoom in to get my eyebrows. So what color am I going to do? For my eyes, I'm going to do some white. Oops, I clicked on the outline. If you notice, I clicked on the outline right there and it changed my outline to white. Just hit Command Z and try to click more in the eye. The paint bucket tool will drop where your arrow is. In some programs it drops where the bucket spill of the paint is, but in Photoshop it drops where your arrow is. So my eyes are really dark brown. I'm going to fill them in really dark brown. And then I'm going to get black for the pupils. Oops. I might have to just paint that in. So if I zoom in, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I was tracing my pupil, I traced it a bunch of times. So I'm not going to be able to flood fill my pupil. Oh, actually that worked, so never mind. One trick you can do is go to the brush tool, select a white, and if you give yourself a highlight, I'm going to click a couple of times so it shows up on the top of your pupil, in the same corner on each side, so I'm doing mine on the right corner, that just makes you look alive. If you don't have a highlight in your art on your eye, sometimes you can look dead. So a highlight really helps. Okay, back to the bucket tool. My eyelashes, I should have made them a little bit of a thicker paintbrush, so I might go back in and paint over those with a thicker paintbrush in a little bit. But it looks like I closed the shape between the line of my eyelashes and the line of the crease in my eye above my eye. So I'm just going to get the skin color again and try to flood fill it in here. I might have to go shape by shape, that's okay. My nostrils, I might flood those in a darker shade. There we go. Choose what color I want my lips to be. Choose what color I want my tongue to be. And I can also add a highlight, so if I choose a really light pink and I go to my brush tool, I can add a highlight on my lips, and that'll just make it more realistic. I can make it a light pink or I can make it a white. I think I'm just going to make mine a white. That'll show up better. Bucket tool. I'm going to fill the rest of my mouth in black. And my teeth are disappeared somewhere. That's okay, I can draw them in later. And my hair. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out so I can see more stuff here. My eyebrows, I'm going to make the same color as my hair. My earrings. Now there are some spaces between my lines and my flood fills. I'll show you how to fix that on Tuesday, so don't worry about that. So obviously there's an open shape between my background and my jacket. So I'll have to figure out where that is, close it with my brush tool, and re-flood fill it when I'm done. Sometimes it's somewhere on the edge. There it is. Pretty big. There we go. It's closed now. Great. So if you get this far, awesome. If you are able to go farther, start adding highlights to your face or your clothes. You can also choose a background color. I think I might choose blue. You don't want to choose a color that you have a lot of in your person, on yourself, because it'll lose those details. So choose a color that you like, but choose a color that doesn't have a lot of background stuff in it. Once you're done, don't just quit. Save. You can hit Command Save, what I just did. Or you can go to Photoshop File, Save. I cannot save mine on my bucket, on my file dropdown, because I just saved it, so it's not going to give me the option to save it. Let's say that I made a change in my picture, then it would let me save it with the dropdown. So that's it. Make sure you save it, close out of Photoshop, please shut down your computer, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.